Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very important webinar on how to revolutionize test automation with AI and low code. We are very excited to have you with us today, where we would be exploring ways to leverage AI to achieve and improve test coverage with lower effort. I'm Shambhavi. I'm a product growth manager at BrowserStack and your host for today's session. I have been associated with BrowserStack for a little over 3 years now, and I'm currently leading the product growth initiatives for our low-code testing solutions. Joining me is Rajesh, an expert in the field of low-code testing at BrowserStack, leading the product initiatives for the low-code testing solutions. Rajesh, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Rajesh, and I have been working as a product manager for local automation and been associated with BrowserStack for over 6.5 years now. I have started my journey as a QA myself, uh, having worked on solving various complex automation problems. And few years back, I transitioned to product management, where we saw a very interesting problem that needed to be solved for any non-technical users to be able to automate without having to learn any kind of coding. So that's where I started my journey as a product manager for with local automation, and excited to share the updates that we have and the kind of product that we have built, and talk about how we have integrated AI into this product. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you, Rajesh. Now, before we begin, here are a few housekeeping items. The session will run for about an hour, including 15 minutes reserved for Q&A at the end. This session will be recorded and the recording will be made available to everybody, all the participants. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Zoom Q&A box and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the agenda for our session today. The webinar is structured to give you a comprehensive understanding of low-code testing and also introduce our in-house solution, BrowserStack Low-Code Automation. Then we'll go through the detailed product demo. The next segment would be where we talk about how we have integrated AI into our product and also about the low-code automation solution as a part of, the broader test platform. We'll then explore integration with test reporting and analytics, and we'll end the session with the Q&A. So let's get started. I hope you all are as excited as we are. Let's start by acknowledging, a reality that we have seen. Traditional test automation relies heavily on code-based tools like Selenium. While powerful, these tools require specialized technical skills, that is, skilled developers or QA engineers, which isn't always feasible at scale. And this leads to three major challenges, right? The first one is that automation becomes very hard to scale and to maintain. Second, you see a delayed ROI. You're investing early, but the returns come much, much later. And third, finding skilled automation engineers is becoming harder and costlier. And all of this, ultimately creates friction in delivering faster and more reliable software. So if you say, you are doing a lot of manual regression, you are doing the smoke and sanity testing, which slows down the releases, there are non-tech experts like product managers or business analysts who do want to help, but they don't code. And third, the test coverage is low and it's taking too long to build automation. And lastly, your tests are flaky and you're spending more time fixing them than, building or writing new ones that will ultimately improve the coverage. So do any of these challenges sound familiar to you? Um, so to use a low-code automation solution, you can just download a desktop application. Just give me a second over there. Yes. So you can just download a desktop application and create and run your tests in 2 minutes. It's basically not like a standalone product, but more of a platform in itself, wherein you can do functional testing, record your tests, use AI assistants for your test steps, and all kinds of functional validations as well. You don't really need to worry about any test execution because it's available for you out of the box. And you can utilize our cross-browser testing capabilities to run to test on a wider number of platforms as well. Low-code automation is relevant for the entire spectrum of teams, right? For teams that have purely manual testing practices as of today, and also for the hybrid teams that have some automation, but they're also testing manually. You do want to get started with automation, but do not have the skills right now. Your testers are mostly manual testers, and you still want to get started with automation so that you can save time, you can improve coverage, and all of that. And along with that, if you are a team that's already using code-based automation, low-code automation will still help you achieve a greater coverage with much, much lower effort. And in your software development lifecycle, you will develop the feature, then test it before you release it. So now the testing part means you would need to write all of those automation scripts that might take, a sprint or even more than that. But the coverage might not be as much as you would have liked still. But with low-code automation, you can achieve much more coverage while spending the same amount of time or even less. Also, let me take you through how we at BrowserStack have simplified low-code automation and test authoring for you using our intuitive test recorder. So we've built a best-in-class test recorder where you can build tests by simply interacting with your app in a browser. There is absolutely no learning curve involved over here. We do support simple interactions like, click on a button, as well as complex interactions as well, like, hover, etc. You can also add complex validations to assert functionality and also the visual states and all, right? Now, with AI in BrowserStack's low-code automation solution, we are there to help you in your automation journey wherever you might be, right? So AI in our product supercharges low-code testing, and we have elevated the recorder experience to automate even the most complex and dynamic workflows using natural language, and this can be done using the low-code authoring agent AI steps. Some examples of dynamic workflows, can be to select a date from the next month or, verify that the list is sorted in a particular order, for example, ascending order. Further, with AI-driven self-healing, the tests automatically adapt to any UI changes. So no more brittle locators or constant rework and maintenance. It really reduces on that. And finally, our AI agent can also convert manual test cases into low-code automated tests that massively will accelerate your test creation for teams that are stuck in manual testing. And this is the AI automated test functionality of the low-code authoring agent. So yes, with that, I'll now hand it over to Rajesh to take us through a detailed demo of the product and the AI capabilities. Rajesh, over to you.
Thanks, Shambhavi. Let me share my screen. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Good. So yeah, I think Shambhavi explained like in a very gave a very detailed overview of what product we have built and what are the different capabilities. I'll just like to show you live on how you can uh, create reliable and robust tests using low-code recorder. So this is the desktop app that you can download from the local automation homepage. Facing some lagginess, let me just turn my video off for a minute. So this is the local automation desktop app wherein you can see uh, you can record your text you could tests on desktop and mobile browser tests. And for desktop browsers, you can also see the different resolutions that are supported, right? So depending on the screen size, you'll see different resolutions getting populated in this drop down. And so let's say you can select one of these. You'll also see an advanced options menu here with different settings. But I'll talk about this towards the end of the demo. So as soon as you click on start recording, we open a recorder panel, which looks something like this. And there are different various capabilities within the recorder panel. I'll just talk about in a few minutes. So let me minimize this. So as soon as you hit start recording, we launch a browser of our own, which is Chrome for testing itself. So it doesn't interfere with any of your so it doesn't interfere with any of your normal browsing session. So every recording that you do is independent and doesn't share any kind of data with your normal browsing session. So as soon as you click start recording and you can just normally interact with the browser to automate the test. So I'll create a workflow where I'll log into the website using some credentials, and then I'll create an event in Calendly. Okay. So let me just turn my video off. Yeah. So here, as you can see, we also have our own email workflow process wherein you can use the emails that are provided by BrowserStack. So it can be a permanent email or a temporary email depending on the use case that you're automating. So if it's more of a sign-in use case where upon sign-in you receive any kind of OTPs or any kind of confirmation links, you can use the permanent email IDs. But if it's more of a registration workflow, wherein you want to sign up with a new user, new email every time, and on every sign up you receive any kind of confirmation links or OTPs, then you can use a temporary email ID. So for the login process, I just selected permanent email. I'll enter the password here. Click continue. Now you'll see the steps are getting recorded in plain English. So any non-technical person can easily understand what the test is about, right? So one quick thing which I also wanted to touch base upon is when you interact with the browser, we we capture various attributes of the element, its position from the root and every other detail. Now these attributes are used during replay when the test gets executed on cloud or even on local replay. So we have our own element selection algorithm that takes into account these attributes and finds the element using that algorithm. Now that algorithm also has a fallback with AI healing. So if the rule-based algorithm fails to find the element, it fallbacks to AI healing in such an instance, right? But in an event where you want to, specifically click on an element for a very specific purpose, you can even override the locator if you want to. But most often than not, you'd like to uh, keep the default setting enabled itself, which is using the element selection algorithm by default. Um, Now, there's also the other configurations called as timeout and on failure configurations. So we by default intelligently set timeout values for different steps based on what interactions you're performing. So if you are performing actions that might lead to a network call or any kind of page load, etc., then for those kind of steps, the timeout values are generally higher. But if the steps, the interactions don't involve any kind of XHR network calls or any kind of page loads, then the timeouts are usually lower. So these things are intelligently set depending upon the interactions that you do on the browser during authoring, right? And lastly, you'll see an on-failure configuration wherein uh, you can define what should be the behavior of the step when it fails. For example, if you want to, if it says fail the test immediately, so whenever this step fails, it will stop the execution and mark the entire test as failure. But if you want to continue with the execution and just mark the status as warning, you can even choose warn but continue execution. And similarly, fail but continue execution will mark the step as failed, but it will still continue with the execution. So these are the different configurations that you can do for each step. Now I'll talk about the validations, different validations that you can add. One is visual validation, wherein you can simply take a screenshot of any element. And this works best when you want to validate a very specific component on your screen, which involves multiple, complex sub-elements where, validating everything becomes trickier. You can just add a single visual validation on that element, right? And what it does, it takes screenshot of that element. And when you run this test, it will set the baseline. And every time you execute the test, it will again try to take the screenshot and then compare against that baseline that got set. So that's how visual validation works. Internally, we use our own Percy's diff engine to compare the screenshots, which is a powerful diff engine, and it reduces all the noise that is there in the images. Right? Second is text validation, where you can also select any element that you want to add text validation on, and correspondingly, you can also choose which operator that you want to validate with. For example, you just want to check whether the text contains or not starts with, etc., or even matches regex, and even enable disable case sensitivity as and when required. And thirdly, you can also add an element presence validation. This is extremely useful for all those checkpoints in your workflow. For example, when you are navigating from one page to the other, it's recommended you add these element presence validations so that when you're navigating from one page to other, your application, you're ensuring that the application is at the right state before even performing any actions on that page. So it's recommended you add these validations at different checkpoints when you're navigating from one flow to the other in the authoring process. So yeah, these are the different validations that you can do. There's a lot more that you can also do. You can make an API call. You can even write a custom JavaScript if you want to invoke any function of your own application from the browser console. You can make use of this custom actions JavaScript. Uh, you can add conditional flows as well. For example, if you want to perform actions only when a specific element is present on the screen or a specific variable has a value, you can even add conditional flows for that. And along with that, you can also configure loops. So if you want to repeatedly perform a step X number of times, you can even configure loops in that sense. Right? Um, so I'll just proceed with the workflow and then create an event in Calendly. So I'll click on one-on-one. I'll give this meeting a name. Right? And then I'll also validate this. Um, Another thing which I also want to touch base upon is the variables, concept of variables. So you might be using different test data in your uh, test, which you want to use further in your steps to validate something on the screen, etc. For example, here I created an event with the name as test event, which I want to convert into a variable. Let's say I give it a variable name as event name, and I want to ensure when the event is created successfully, the event name is correct on the screen. So I'll just reuse that same variable, right? So I can make use of these variables, convert variables, and then use those variables to validate anything on the screen, right? And then that will log in. So, yeah. So that's how seamless is to record an end-to-end flow using the recorder. I'll just hit save and give this a name saying you can even assign tags, let's say login, or you can, let's say, give priorities, right? So as soon as you hit save and run, we set whatever snapshots you have taken for visual validation. We save those as baseline so that when the test gets executed, it compares against that baseline by taking the screenshot again. Uh, so so this so when this test runs, you can validate whatever you have recorded is accurate and there are no inconsistencies in your whole test that you have recorded. So we even take screenshots at different steps so that you can validate if something failed at some place. You can even validate on that screenshot by checking the screenshot. So this test will execute. I'll just move forward by creating a test suite. So let's say you have created a bunch of different tests in your project, which you want to run it on cloud on different browsers. So you can go to the test suites menu, wherein when you'll see all the test suites that have been created, and can create a test suite. Let's say I will give the name. Now you can add whatever number of tests you want to run as part of this test suite, right? There's also an option for creating blocks. It's slightly an advanced feature wherein you can define different blocks on how you want to execute that entire test suite. So let's say I create two different blocks where I have different tests in different blocks, and I can configure the blocks in such a way that uh, all the tests in this block should execute in parallel. And on completion, if the block has failures, I want to stop the execution then and there itself, right? So these kind of configurations also I can do in the test suite. Name already exists. Webinar. Okay. Right. So you can even select browsers where you want to run the test suite on, and even schedule the test suite. So let's say I want to run every day of the week at 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time, right? Few things here. one option you'll see configure environment. Now you can record tests on any environment you would like, but if you want to run on a very specific environment, for example, I've recorded 20 tests on production environment, 20 on my staging environment. But let's say when I'm creating this suite, I want all of those 40 tests to run on my UAT or a pre-prod environment. So I can just give the base URL of that environment in this URL bar. Right, so you can save the test. So all the tests within the suite would run on that specific environment URL itself. So you don't have to maintain different tests for different environments. You can author your tests on any environment you would like, and you can run on any environment by using this configure environment option. So you can save this test suite, and when you hit run, it will trigger a build on cloud, wherein it will leverage BrowserStack's own cloud infrastructure devices, browsers and devices, and run the test suite. Right? I'll just quickly open one such suite, for example, let's say this one. So we'll see browser-wise execution for each test. And once you click on any test execution, you'll also see the video recording and all the steps that got executed here. Right? Um, so this is the basic demo. This is how you can create your tests um, in low code and run those on cloud using the test suite option. A couple of things that I also wanted to touch base upon is the use of best practices. For example, here in the Calendly login workflow, step number 2 to 6 are something that are common for all of my test scenarios, right? All of my tests will start with the login flow. So what I want to do is I want to create a module for this so that I can reuse this everywhere in my tests. So I can simply create this as a module. And whenever I create any new test, I can simply import this module so that I don't have to re-record everything again. Um, so that's about modules. We also have an option for data-driven testing, wherein if you have a test which has to be tested across multiple different combinations, a classic example, login scenario itself, where you want to test login workflow with multiple different user combinations, you can upload a dataset CSV here. The process of uploading a CSV is just upload the CSV file from your local file system, or you can also fetch the data set from a database query response as well, right? So I have different data sets already uploaded here, and this is one sample data set. Okay. Now within the tests, I can let's say this one. Yeah. Within the tests, let's say this is the step which is typing the email into the email input box, which I want to replace with the email from my test data set. So I can simply import a value from test data set. I can select the data set that I want to use. And then I can select the column, which is username. Now, one enhancement to this whole data-driven testing that we also did recently was add a row selection process, wherein you can also define which rows you want to run against when this test runs on cloud. So if you don't want to run for all the rows by default, you can even select the rows which you want to run for by selecting the rows or even specifying by condition. Right? For example, if I say current credentials is any of admin, so tomorrow, let's say the dataset gets updated and there are more credentials involving admin role, then by default, the test will execute for all the admin roles dynamically. So you don't have to update your tests frequently. You can just update the row selection using the condition here. Right? So this is how you can also do data-driven testing using the dataset feature. Now you just saw how seamless it was to record your workflows using the recorder. It has built with powerful features. You can make a database call, you can make an API call, you can even write any kind of custom JavaScript to be able to cater a very specific use case. And you can even perform email workflow testing. But things get trickier when the application involves a lot of dynamic workflows. For example, you are booking a flight or you're booking a hotel. So that's the whole website. Let's say Airbnb is the website that you're testing on. You are booking a hotel, or let's say you're booking any flight or anything. The dates keep on changing every month, and so you can't book a hotel or a flight in the past. So every time you record and run the test, it has to ensure that it is always selecting the date in future. Now you can record this workflow directly using the recorder as well, but with AI, it becomes even more seamless. Instead of trying to automate using custom JavaScript or custom locators for those kind of scenarios, you can just specify that objective in plain English. For example, enter any available date in the next month, or validate that the table column date is sorted in ascending order, things like that. So those kind of things become trickier in the recorder approach, but it becomes much more seamless when you make use of the AI authoring that you integrated. I'll just demonstrate that as well. You okay? Yeah. So for that demonstration, I'll just say go to a website. It's more of an e-commerce website. Now, this website you can shop for different food storage products. So what I'll try to do is I'll shop for a food storage product, and there in the list of products, I'll first give an objective to select any product or add any product to the cart which has price greater than $50, let's say. So you'll see an option in the recorder with a button called as AI step. So once you click on that, you can enter a prompt saying click on add to cart button uh, for a product $50. So when you click on perform, it will take the application context, the visual context, uh, check the objective that you are trying to achieve, and then based on that, identify which are all those products which have price greater than $50, and then accordingly take the action to click on add to cart button of that product. Now, one key difference between BrowserStack's low-code automation AI step versus other AI tools, um, most of the AI tools that are there, they operate on the visible viewport of the page, which means if your application involves scrolling down to the page and then performing any action using AI, then most of the applications that are built, most of the other AI tools that are built, they only work on the visible viewport. They don't scroll below and then perform the action. So that becomes challenging when your website has a lot of scroll and a lot of dynamic things getting updated in real time. Right. So you can see it has generated the thoughts and also clicked on add to cart button of a product, and the product had a price $64. So you can also see the thoughts behind it. So which gives you visibility on what AI was thinking when it was trying to perform this action. So you have better transparency in that instance. Now I'll quickly go back and I'll try to give a objective for a validation. Let me just refresh this page. Okay. Now here you can see there are a lot of different products with different prices. And what I'll do is I want to sort all the products with price low to high, and I want to validate that the sort is working fine, right? So I can just simply give a prompt saying validate. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it will take the entire application context, not just the visible viewport. So unlike most AI tools that are there, it might end up just validating the first four products. But the Stack AI scrolls and takes a screenshot of all the different products and then checks for the uh, corresponding validation. So as you can see, it validated that all the products were indeed arranged in ascending order of the price, which is ranging from $3 to $12 that is there here, right? So that's how you can seamlessly automate these complicated workflows as well directly using this AI step. Uh, and also demonstrate how you can leverage and take it to the next level with AI automated tests, wherein instead of using the recorder panel, you can directly automate your workflows just by specifying the objective here. For example, my test case is about verifying registration workflow in Calendly website, right? And the steps involved are, let's say, navigate to the URL and sign up with temp email and valid password. Go through the onboarding process and value appropriate options and validate. My keyboard is messing. Validate that currently page is loaded successfully. So once you click automate test creation, it will directly automate the entire test case with AI without uh, you having to be involved in that process, right? So you can automate a lot of your cases directly using AI. And this is not just one touch point. If you have your test cases well written in any tool or even in Excel files, you can directly import those in our test management product. So let me just open the test management product as well. So we have also integrated this AI automated test feature in our test management product. So you can uh, say open any project and click on any test case. And you'll see an automate using BrowserStack AI option here as well. So you can import your test cases directly in test management, and you'll see an automate using BrowserStack AI option here. And as soon as you click automate, you can just fill the details here by if the website requires email and password, you can just provide those email and password here, and then you can automate those test cases directly with AI, right? So this is one direct way of automating test cases with AI using the LCA authoring agent. While this gets automated, we'll quickly talk about the best practices to keep in mind. A few things that I wanted to highlight when you work with AI, not just with BrowserStack, with any AI tool in general for automation or any other purpose for that matter. One is describe the goal and not every click that you want to perform on the browser to record the workflow. Instead of saying click on username field, enter username, click on password field, enter password, so and so. Describe the goal saying log into the website with username and password, right? Try not to be vague. What I mean by that is instead of saying validate text, which is very vague, there could be tons of text present on the screen on the application. But be more specific in terms of what you want to validate or what you want to perform action on in the browser. So instead of specifying validate text, mention validate that the heading of the page contains so and so text, things like that. Third is use on-screen text or visual cues. What I mean by that is, and this is a very interesting thing. Uh, Now, when you work with your internal applications, and you might be using some terminologies which are very internal, meaning any third person who is joining the organization newly might not know about those terminologies, which becomes difficult for even AI to figure out what exactly you mean by achieving some objective when you give that same thing the prompt. So when you give a prompt, do mention in generic terms on what you want to achieve in the objective instead of using a very internal terminologies which no one outside the world would be aware of. And use on-screen text instead of saying click on element or click on sign in button with class name so and so, or click on sign in button with data test ID so and so. Just specify what you can see on the screen, saying click on sign in button, just present on the top right of the screen, or things like that. So try to use those relative positioning and all this context in the prompts to make it more contextual and reliable. Uh, so Recorder becomes your go-to for all your simple static browser actions and validation that you want to perform. It is built with powerful features, but any kind of dynamic aspects that you want to automate, the example that we just saw in the previous slide, these ones, which that wherein the step has to adapt based on the application state during the runtime. For those kind of instances, use AI steps because AI steps every time it runs, it will use AI to perform those actions of validation in the browser. So these are some of the best practices that you should keep in mind when you are using AI in general in automation and development. Coming to the next section, which is about local automation as a platform. Um, so as local automation, we have not just built as a product wherein you can just do functional testing. Yes, it can support a lot of workflows for functional testing. But what we are building, local automation, is more of a platform wherein you can integrate with your, you can perform visual testing with low code, you can perform accessibility testing with low code, you can even sync results to your test case management uh, test cases. So whatever test cases you have written in test case management of BrowserStack, the results can be automatically synced when the test runs on cloud, when the local automated test runs on cloud. So the results will be automatically synced, and you can create a report out of it and share it with your leadership, a consolidated report with leadership. So it becomes very useful when these two products are deeply integrated. And lastly, integration with our own test reporting and analytics product. Um, so test reporting and analytics product provides much more deeper insights and advanced analytics for your build reports, wherein you can easily debug and identify if any test has failed, why exactly it has failed, and also categorize those failures so that it becomes easier for any person to be able to understand why exactly that build has failed. So is it because any third-party failure, or is it because any kind of a bug in the application or something? So I'll showcase the test reporting and analytics dashboard as well, but I'll first demonstrate how you can do visual testing and accessibility testing using low code. Right. Um, so the test was created, and yeah, so, yeah. There are a few questions. Let me see if I can answer some of those. Is it for web and mobile apps only? Can we use it for, can we use it on Windows applications? Uh, so this local automation app that you're seeing currently supports for desktop and mobile web browsers. There's also a separate product that we have launched, which is currently in alpha for mobile apps, but there's nothing for desktop applications right now. One question, I did not understand what the build is. Is that suite executed on cloud devices and browser stack? Yes. And if yes, how you can run them there if the local test is not activated? So yeah, build is basically uh, the test suites that you execute get transformed in. You can view those test executions in the build section. So builds is basically all the test execution that you have run on cloud. So every test suite execution will create one build. Now, if your application is internal, which means it is restricted to your own network, there's an option in the test suites called as local testing. You have to enable that, and you have to ensure the local binary of browser stack is running on the machine which can access the internal environment, right? So there's a detailed documentation. So when you create a test suite, you can also right below the local testing option, you can see the documentation link and you can follow the steps there. You just have to ensure you are running the local binary on the machine which has access to the environment, and you have to ensure that you have toggled the local testing on the test suite. So if you do these two things, even the internal application that you're testing on will be able to access on Cloud Runs as well. So I'll quickly, so yeah, this test was automated. You can see the registration workflow here. So it created, logged into the website, it used the temporary email, and it logged into the website, confirm the email as well by opening the email, and then follow the onboarding journey that is shown on Calendly. So whenever you sign up on Calendly, it has an onboarding journey which says, are you joining for an individual or as a team, all those things. So it has automated all those and then added a validation. It's more of an AI validation as well, right? So that's how you can directly create or automate tests using AI as well. Now coming to visual and accessibility, how you can do that. Um, there's no separate, you don't have to record any separate test for visual or accessibility testing. Whatever test you have recorded, you can simply go to this test. And for visual testing, you just have to decide upon what are those checkpoints in your workflows where you want to test your application for visual testing, right? For example, right after I log into Calendly, which is clicking on continue button, I want to ensure that my application is visually correct. So you can click on the step and you will see an option for visual testing here. You just have to enable the toggle here. So likewise, you can just uh, define different checkpoints in your workflows where you want to test for visual testing as well, and then enable this checkbox, this toggle for visual testing on those steps and save the test, right? And as soon as you save the test, and when you add this in a test suite and run it on cloud, it will also run for visual testing, which default uses Percy for executing those visual tests. Now coming to accessibility, um, you will see an option in your test suite as well for accessibility testing, right? Wherein you can enable this toggle. So whatever tests you want to test for accessibility, simply add those in your test suite and enable accessibility toggle here, right? And there are different options that you can enable if you want to do an advanced scan, if you want to check for need review issues as well, best practice issues, like experimental rules, etc. You can enable, disable those configurations accordingly, and then save changes and run the suite. When you run the suite, and when the build gets triggered and the build runs, you'll also see visual and accessibility reports here. So if you, well, let me go to the web once. Yeah. So let's say this test suite which I had ran, I'd also enabled accessibility on this, and it had 152 issues in the workflows that I have recorded. So you can go to the link, click on the link, and you'll see the detailed report of the entire accessibility run, and then see what are the issues on different elements that have been observed. Right. So you can click on each component and see what exactly was the issues, the color contrast issues, and everything. Right. Similarly, you can click on the link for visual testing, and you'll see a report in directly in Percy, wherein you can see all the comparisons and then accordingly approve the build for your uh, tests. So because our test ran on all the four browsers, it ran for visual checks on all the four browsers. So you can see these browsers as well here. This is Safari, this is Chrome, this is Edge, and this is Firefox. So that's how you can simply integrate visual and accessibility testing directly in low code. There's no extra efforts that are needed. There's no extra tests that are needed to be recorded for same workflows. Whatever workflows you have recorded can be easily leveraged to be able to test for visual and accessibility scans as well. Right. Uh,
Great.
I'll quickly hand over to Shambhavi for talking about further slides.
Yes. Thank you so much for a very, very comprehensive overview, Rajesh. Before we move on, I would like to showcase, how customers have loved using the product and we have received very promising feedback as well. And I would also like to take this opportunity to showcase how we helped a particular customer. Rajesh, if you could go to the next slide. Um, yeah, so this is for the Royal Caribbean Group, how we help them mitigate their challenges. So prior to BrowserStack, their reliance was heavily on manual testing. That meant, everything was time consuming, repetitive, and also prone to human error, and also created significant bottlenecks in the release cycles. And it severely limited the speed at which, the company could scale its quality efforts. And the challenge was very clear to them. I mean, how could they improve the efficiency and accelerate validation for their manual QA teams without requiring deep coding expertise, right? So, to address this, Royal Caribbean Group introduced BrowserStack's low-code automation product, enabling their manual testers to build automated tests through an intuitive interface. The recorder feature allowed testers to interact with the site naturally, like Rajesh just showed us, and it also generated reusable scripts. So AI powered features simplified complex actions and validations, and self-healing capabilities also help reduce maintenance overhead by automatically adapting scripts to UI changes, right? So this kept the test stable and also reduced the manual intervention. And then in parallel, they adopted like a hybrid automation approach, which was to combine low-code automation solution for manual testers with traditional scripting for more complex scenarios. So this dual strategy allowed them to scale automation across both technical and non-technical teams. And it also helped deliver a significant and measurable result across the organization, right? So manual testers there now contribute directly to automation, which has significantly reduced their time spent on repetitive tasks. And faster test execution and reduced human error has led to more reliable releases and has also improved user experiences, right? So ultimately, this whole transformation allowed Royal Caribbean Group to break through its testing bottlenecks and also accelerate the release velocity and confidently deliver a more stable, higher quality digital experience to its customers worldwide. So yes, I think with that, we move on to the next section, which is the Q&A. So Rajesh, over to you.
Awesome. There's a query around what about systems under test that are behind a firewall? During proof of concept, we noticed that the low-code tool struggled if the system under test was behind a firewall, but had no problem with public-facing sites. So there are multiple aspects when it comes to internal websites. Um, and there are several solutions as well. One is you use our binaries, which runs on your machine, and second, there's this IP whitelisting feature as well, wherein if you don't want to run binary every time, and what you can do is we can use our IP whitelisting feature, wherein we can give you a range of IPs that you can whitelist on your network, and you don't have to run any binary on your machine if that IP whitelisting is configured. And whenever you trigger your test suites, all the traffic will be routed via those IPs. And because those are whitelisted on your network, those will have access to your environments as well. Uh, you shouldn't be facing any issues uh, with local testing because the local binary is a solution that is used across all products in BrowserStack, be it live, apply, automate, app automate, local automation, etc. Um, so if you face any challenge, do let us know via the email. We'll definitely love to work closely with you and then try to get anything resolved. So local binary is a very what do you say uh, powerful solution, which is currently being used by a lot of enterprise customers as well, and without facing any issues. And there's a lot of configurations. If your network has proxies and everything, you can when you run the binary, you can even specify this proxies configurations as well. So yeah. One question was around, are there controls for enabling, disabling AI? Some clients are happy to use AI, while there are some industries which have strict tool audits for AI. Yes, there is a control. In the account settings page of BrowserStack, you'll have an option to opt out of AI if if you don't want to use any of the AI features across any product. You can even do so. But we'd love to understand the challenges or the restrictions that the organization might have. to be able to provide you the better information so that you can confidently use AI features in BrowserStack. All of those information is also publicly available in the terms of service page of BrowserStack AI. So, yep, there's an opt-in, opt-out feature in the account settings page. But we'd love to understand what are those challenges that or restrictions that your organizations has in place, so we can help you out in uh, leveraging AI in your whole testing workflows. This node automation tool features built-in self-healing to automatically update locators when UI changes. Yes, as I mentioned, we have our own element selection algorithm. So it's not just like a one locator that is being used. So unlike your traditional script-based automation, you use driver.find element and then specify the XPath or CSS path or ID or etc. uh, it's not just one locator. We capture the attributes of the element and not just that element, the parent element and all the other relevant information, which is then being used to find the element during replay. So there's an algorithm in place which is also which also has a fallback with AI healing. So if the algorithm fails, AI healing comes into play. So yes, self-healing is automatically inbuilt, which helps you reduce your overall test maintenance efforts majorly. Mm, Can the program test within two tabs? Yes, if you in your application, if you're performing actions that opens a new tab or let's say a new window, you can interact with those tabs or windows and those can also get recorded. So you shouldn't be facing any challenges. But yes, opening a new window separately with a different user profile, that use case is currently not yet supported. We're just trying to understand what are those kind of workflows to be able to incorporate that in the product as well. So that's something in our roadmap. But yes, if it's just to workflow where you click on something and it opens a tab, or you indeed want to open a new tab by yourself, you can do that even today. Are tests shared between your team? Yes, I mean, you can create different projects and you can add different members of your team to these projects, and all of those can collaboratively work on these projects and then see and create each other's tests as well. For modules, can you send parameters to the modules? Yes. This was an ask since quite some time, and then we understood the importance of it, and then this was recently shipped as well in the previous quarter. So I'll take to the documentation as well. So yeah, you can go to the modules documentation and you'll see how you can parameterize your modules as well. So you can, there's a section called as override module variables, and you can see how you can override the module variables as well. So just this thing is also coming to there with us. Um, I think more question around local testing. How long is free trial available for? You can get in touch with our sales team. You can raise a demo request, and depending on how what is the scope of your POC, we can enable free trial accordingly for you. You can have a very exhaustive POCs as well. We'll have our customer engineers work closely with you during the POC stage to be able to help you automate several complex workflows. So yes, you can reach out to us, raise a demo request from the contact sales page of BrowserStack, and you can get in touch and we can enable free trials for you. It can be how much ever time you want to, but again, we can create a proper success plan and then accordingly have a trial going for your account. I think we are going over time. I'll just quickly address two to three more questions. Basic browser tool is free to use. Yes, in the free plan. you can create as many tests as you want. But there are several features that are only available on the paid plans. Also, uh, like on cloud, you can only execute 100 executions in your free plan. But yeah, with free plan also has you can create as many tests, but a lot of features like data-driven testing, email workflow testing, database calls, etc., are available on the paid offerings. There are a few questions on can current tests on different frameworks be imported into the tool? Short answer, no. Uh, but if you are planning to migrate from one tool to other, be it script-based automation or be it different low-code tool, uh, one thing that you can do is you can import all those test cases in the test case management product, because even for your script-based automation or be it any other low-code tool, uh, you might have written test cases. You might have test cases drafted somewhere. You just have to import those in the test case management product and then use AI to automate those directly. It will save a lot of time, a lot of initial effort will be saved, but there's no direct way of importing from either Playwright or any other framework for that matter as of now. But this is one approach that you can take, which can significantly save time, save initial effort that are required for automating the workflows. Are there any pre-recorded videos explaining complete application with an example website? Yes, there are some videos on the documentation pages, but we are working on creating a course in our test university, BrowserStack Test University, wherein you can go to the entire course, which covers all the aspects in detail, be it variables, modules, data-driven testing, conditional flows, loops, CI/CD pipelines, and everything, local testing, etc. So the course covers all those things, and that course will be live sometime this month. So once that course is live, you'll see it on the BrowserStack website as well, and then you can subscribe to that course. So that contains all the recorded videos, and you can go through those courses in detail and understand the product in detail as well. So yeah, um, there are a few more questions as well, but those will address outside the webinar, and we'll respond to you by the email. But we'll take these questions post this webinars. That's from our side, everyone. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope there were a lot of things that you felt were interesting in the overall course of the webinar, where we talk about uh, the different flows that you can automate, the best practices that you can leverage, how you can make use of AI to automate complex and dynamic workflows, and how low code is being built as a platform, not as a product, wherein you can integrate and perform visual testing, accessibility testing, and can also be integrated with the test case management product and the test reporting and analytics product that are upcoming. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining the webinar, and see you everyone next time.